one of my own back of head conspiracies. It's kind of a long running thought of mine actually over the years. And it relates here to something interesting that I thought of after the show yesterday that I wanted to share with you guys regarding Charlie as a child. Charlie was obviously an extremely gifted child, so much so that he was hyperactive. He was actually always hyperactive. That never went away. He couldn't sit down. He was never idle. He was always working. But he was so gifted that, of course, doctors immediately wanted to put him on ADHD medicine because, well, why is he so hyperactive? Something's wrong with him. Let's drug him. And thankfully, Charlie's parents said, absolutely not. You're not drugging our son. He is actually, in fact, gifted. And they instead opted to send him to a school for the gifted. That's my memory. Charlie told me that story multiple times. And I thought about that. This has just been in my mind lately, living in my mind, because
So what does that story got to do with Charlie Kirk's investigation? Guys, like if you have your best friend is telling you certain information, is that for public consumption? Is that the story for everybody else to know? Like why are you bringing that up? Why are you bringing that up? So, but here we have her, because she wants to portray to people, telling people, so people should think like, yes, she was BFF by telling people these antidotes, right? The stories that Charlie Kirk, spoke to her. Now, well, how can we verify that story? Even if that story is true, right? But this is what she's telling us. How do we know that story is true? The child is not here for us to go and ask, okay? So what if, maybe, let's just say Erica doesn't even know about it, right? You see what I mean? So, and then what? So she's out here bringing this information to prove to the audience that she was BFF with Charlie Kirk, okay? She used to be cool with Charlie Kirk. I'm not disputing that fact. But in the later years, they were not cool. In the later years, they were not friends. They were not that close, I should say. They were not that close to a point of what she is doing. So, Lady Candace has been at it, but there is actually a history behind this. So most people are always asking, what is the big deal? So what with whatever Candace Owens is doing? Guys, believe it or not, the things, whenever you have a platform, a huge platform like what she has, it's just not her doing these things, okay? It does affect people. There's people who are drinking this Kool-Aid, and there's people who are able and willing to take action, okay? So case in point, there's a gentleman who's been arrested because of stuff like this, right? What's his name? Seth Dillon was accused to, something to do with what happened with Charlie Kirk. To my knowledge, the only one who has insinuated something to that effect is Lady Candace. But this is not the first time that she has said things that other people have heard and have taken action. Take a look at this.
In February 2019, she said that if Hitler had just wanted to make Germany great, that it would have been fine. But he had dreams outside of Germany. Obviously not great, but 1 month later, the situation became a lot more real. On March 15th, 2019, a 28-year-old neo-Nazi shot up 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. He killed 51 people and injured 89 others. He wore Nazi symbols and wrote a 74-page manifesto about the white supremacist ideas of the Great Replacement and the White Genocide. In one section, the neo-Nazi explicitly stated, "The person that has influenced me above all was Candace Owens. Each time she spoke, I was stunned by her insights, and her own views helped push me further and further into the belief of violence over meekness." Candace was quick to distance herself from the attack, saying that it's ridiculous to conflate black conservatism with this guy. But it's important to note that his manifesto read pretty similarly to what Candace had been saying about Muslims taking over the UK and France, even using the exact dog whistles like cultural Marxism, which were found in the manifesto. A couple months later, in May 2019, she resigned from TPUSA, largely over the backlash from the Hitler comments. This is a weird time for Candace, one which I think led her to pretty big changes in her approach to politics. From March 19th, 2019 to June 18th, 2023, she did not tweet a single time about Islam. And I don't think it's because she became progressive or whatever, she became a woke jihadist, but I think she changed her tactics. Instead of lashing out about cultural Marxism, she attacked Cardi B about democratic politics. She said Harry Styles was gay for wearing a dress, and she found some momentum in 2020 by urging folks to ignore stay-at-home orders during COVID, which eventually got her kicked off some socials for a very short amount of time. Candace went on to host a show for PragerU before eventually joining Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire in 2021.
So you see what happens? So you had a lunatic out there will be, I'm following whatever Candace Owens is saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm vibing with it. And this guy goes out there and literally ending up what? Deleting people. Okay? So, yes, Candace Owens did denounce all that. And I'm not saying that it's because of her. But I'm saying that the things that she says, other people, they hear those things and they're able and willing to what? To act upon those things. So clearly, in 2019, because all those things happened, Turning Point was just like, you know what? You gotta go. They demanded. You see what I'm saying? Turning Point just said demanded that she has to go. So, and then she ended up leaving, right? Went to PragerU, went to Daily Wire. So right now, is it any wonder that she is coming hard at the Turning Point USA employees? Because this is time for her payback. I used to work there. She wasn't planning on leaving, but the circumstances, forced Turning Point to get rid of Candace Owens. So right now, she's out here. She's been like, you know what? Guess what? I cannot have Turning Point. You guys, I was chased out of Turning Point because of people like you. I'm coming for you. She's not going to tell that to our audience. She's not going to tell that to audience, but she's going to pretend that she's doing this for the sake of Charlie Kirk. But when you look at her history, how she left Turning Point USA, it only makes sense right now with what she is doing. With what she's doing. Name me one person that she hasn't accused as far as Turning Point is concerned. Okay? It's the Rob McCoys. It's Andrew Covet. Everybody. The donors, you name it. Why? Because she is no longer part of that. And because she knows right now, because Charlie Kirk is gone, those people are going to be the beneficiaries of Turning Point. And guess what? If Candace Owens was still at Turning Point, who would have been a beneficiary of Turning Point? It would have been her. Yes, Erika Kek will always be there by virtue because she's married, right? But everybody knows, like, okay, that was Charlie Kirk, the people who are working there. So right now, this is her opportunity. All the time that she lost at Turning Point, everything that she could have earned while she was at Turning Point, she is going to gain it right now. And that's exactly what she is doing. One episode at a time.
And says, I want this investigation into his death to continue. It's a bit weird, right? It's a bit weird. Dogs, very silent right now. Very, very silent. And there's like a stake on the ground. They're not moving. It's very weird. They do, all of them, however, I will say, want him to be honored, right? Mostly by your money. They want you to give Turning Point USA. That's the best way, by the way, that you can honor him. Open up your pocketbooks. They don't have enough money there, right? Clearing like $100 million a year. They don't have enough. Open up your pockets, keep his show going, and don't ask questions is obviously the clearest way that we can honor Charlie Kirk. They want him lionized, and they did try to lionize him immediately as the most Judeo-Christian goy ever, right? He was basically, why not just put him in a yarmulke in some of these AI photos? That would make more sense. The direction, I mean, so instant. It's like just like trying to establish the legacy, right? And keeping with that, we want this to be honorific, not actually trying to solve what happened here. For Charlie's birthday, President Trump signed into law or established rather a holiday. And he decided that October 14th, which is Charlie Kirk's birthday, would be a national day of remembrance for Charlie Kirk. Okay? And I'm going to tell you how I feel about that. Truly Zionists that infiltrated my book club, you did not need to pay the $9.99 to find out how I feel about this. I don't know why people think I'm hiding how I feel. It's very weird. Like, when did people go, oh, we have to try to listen in to hear what she really thinks? I'll tell you what I really think. I think it's crap. Okay? What I said in my book club holds. It's never good when the feds are lining up to give you a holiday. It's not good. You know, Martin Luther King vibes. Martin Luther King Jr. I think maybe the feds definitely killed Martin Luther King Jr. But in school, we get to learn about him. He's got this whole holiday. Oh, he was such a great, I loved that I have a dream speech. Oh, the feds. Oh, man, you're good. You were so great. It's unfortunate that we had to murder you. I don't like it because the best way to honor Charlie Kirk is very obvious. Figure out who killed him first. Let's celebrate the holiday later. I want to figure out who killed him first. And so I'm struck by this. I'm struck by Trump and the lack of demand, the lack of.
So notice what she's doing. She says the feds, they should find out who did this to Charlie Kirk, right? That would be the best way of honoring Charlie Kirk. So right now, the feds, they have Tara Robinson in custody. They're actually doing the investigation. You don't have to like it, but we are following her logic, okay? We know the feds are investigating. We know the feds have Tyra Robinson in custody. We know the judge has issued a gag order. So there's things that are actually happening there. So, but Candace is saying that if Trump wants to do something, they need to find somebody. Like, no, the administration, right? They have found somebody. They're actually doing. The prosecution is going on. She is the one who says it's not Tyra Robinson. So wouldn't it make sense for her to say, guys, you've got the wrong person. Here is the correct person. Here is the correct information. Here is the correct evidence. Follow this. No. The same feds that she's denouncing right now, she wants the same feds to be doing something. So the question is, are the feds doing something right now? Yes or no? Candace, will you please respond?
Pushing on the narrative. Trump has really represented himself, at least as me, someone who voted for him twice. He represented himself as an individual who didn't trust the federal establishment. This feels like an easy layup here. Your friend, he viewed you in many ways like a father figure, right? Hey, feds, what's going on here? And I said, maybe he did, because I was in this aggrieved stage and I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop crying about it every second. And I said, maybe I missed it. Maybe Trump did actually say this is crap. Maybe he did call for an investigation. And we did a search on Truth Social to see how many times President Trump tweeted or Truth Social calling for further investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder. And there was only one tweet that we could find to that effect. And this tweet is not what I would describe as him calling for an investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder, actually. Here it is. This is the only one we could find. Why was the wonderful turning point under investigation by deranged Jack Smith and the corrupt and incompetent Biden administration? They tried to force Charlie and many other people and movements out of business. They weaponized the Justice Department against sleepy Joe Biden's political opponents, including me. They allowed the daughter of a judge of one of the corrupt trials against me to become the biggest fundraiser for Biden and Kamala, making millions of dollars for herself and her family. But with her father, the judge, not only refusing to recuse himself, but putting a gag order on me, not allowing any talk about their family corruption and unprecedented conflict of interest. Well, that's not going to age well, the gag order thing, is it? Every leading legal analyst and pundit said this trial was wrong and should not have been allowed to go forward. But it did because of a corrupt judge who will hopefully pay a very big price for his illegal action someday. Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, how much is that do you feel about Charlie Kirk?
So what is she saying here? According to her, Donald Trump is not doing anything about the situation, right? This is what she wants us to believe. However, the question is, who is the FBI director? What's his name? Kash Patel. Who does he work for? Which administration is he representing? Which administration is he representing? Okay. Is this the Donald Trump administration? So this idea of her pretending like they are not doing anything about it, it's actually a lie. Okay. Because remember, it's going to be Utah, right? Utah against Tyra Robinson. Because he killed somebody, it's a state crime as well as a federal crime, right? So that's exactly what's happening. It is the Trump administration that's actually doing something about it. You don't have to like it. That's not the point that I'm trying to make over here. But she's trying to pose it as if the administration is not doing anything as it relates to this case. But we know that's not true. Remember, it was the FBI director, okay? To me, she's better off questioning that because, what is the FBI director doing on a press conference about the case? That's not what directors are supposed to be doing, okay? And Kash Patel was there. What is the director out here tweeting out that, they have somebody else in custody and it was actually a wrong person? The director is not supposed to be doing that. And that's what Kash Patel was doing. You have a case right there. That's not what she's saying, guys. That's not what she's saying. She says those things are be like, yes, you're right, Candace. Yes, you're right, Candace. That's not what she's saying. So notice what she said. She said that when this incident happened, she did not poke her head like she was, out there in a grieving situation instead not doing anything out. Okay? Let's see if that statement is actually true. Okay? Take a look at this. So this is what Candace had to say, right? Watch this real quick.
Because I was in this aggrieved stage and I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop crying about it every second. Charlie Kirk, my friend, is dead. First, this is fantastic that Preborn is doing this. Exactly why I partner with Preborn. So I want to remind you guys about Pure Talk. Also reminding you guys about American financing. Also reminding you guys about GNO land. Also telling you guys about Just Thrive, because I really didn't poke my head up until weeks later when I could stop.
Yeah, so we know that is not true. Okay, that's not true. In reality, just 6 days after Kirk's death, Candace had already started her show, dedicating her content entirely to conspiracies. Okay, Owens wants people to believe that no one was hit harder by Kirk's death, and that no one is working harder to investigate the truth about it. In reality, arguably, no one is profited more from it, and that's just a fact. She has made dough in this issue more than anybody, and that is her. So 6 days later, she's doing all sorts of things. That's just there. But she wants people to believe that she's the only one who has been or who was heartbroken as far as Charlie Kirk is concerned. She's the only one who is doing something about it. Remember, when you're doing something, you know what I mean? Don't let your left hand see what your right hand is doing. There's people who are just doing things quietly behind the scenes and they're not making noise about it, okay? So to my knowledge, I know, what's his name? Officer Tatum, maybe he's finished raising the money. They raising $1 million so they can give that money to Erica Kirk. And they've made a t-shirt, so all the profits from that t-shirt are going to the Kirk's family. So the question is, what has Candace done in terms of helping to the Kirk's family? Do we know? Do we know? Because she's telling us she's the only one who is doing something about it. We know the other people, you know what I mean? They are putting their money where their mouth is by raising all that. But she already says oh, why are they raising money for Turning Point? They say as if they don't already create out $1 million. So you're saying okay, Turning Point has all this other money, but you're also telling us that, there's something fishy going on with the money. Which is it, Candace Owens? If this lady would listen to the things that she says, I don't think she'll continue to be doing what she's doing. Because she's just saying things, contradicting herself left and right. And obviously, it's Candace Owens, okay? Nobody's there checking her. But we're out here, guys, okay?